Hey everybody, it's Alan, and I'm going to kind of go over assignment 2 in web programming. It's kind of leave off where we left off last time with the assignment, and this is kind of what mine looked like. Is that I have the different fields, and they're all kind of in the form. And when you press the button down here, you kind of get a message, and it'll do some simple math and give you kind of a discount rate, and you kind of put something in the first and last name and hit go. So this is kind of what's going on here. Let's see, what I'm going to do is kind of walk over assignment 2. Basically what we're going to be doing is adding in a lot of error checking. That way if, say, these fields are blank, this doesn't show, and then we get some error messages over here on the right that'll kind of tell us what's wrong. So anyway, the part 1 is kind of asking you to go through your markup and add a span tag, basically kind of on the end of each of your input types. So this is kind of my code from last time. I'm actually going to kind of close it, and what I'm going to do is I have this folder here with it from last time. I'm just going to kind of copy that and move it right there, and oops, don't want to delete it. I want to rename that so that it's assignment 2. Open that guy up and hit these 3 files in Notepad++. And I guess one of the other things I gotta do is just gotta hit the 2's up here. And so when I open this, it should be assignment 2 folder. Nope. Oh, I just clicked the wrong one. Close on first one. And did open these. There we go, assignment 2. And it's in the assignment 2 folder, and in the header section it says assignment 2. Good deal. So kind of what I want to do is I want to go through and I want to add those span tags that were in the description. And so that's basically this. I'm going to kind of just add a blank span tag towards the end of each one, and I'm going to kind of highlight it with Control-C. And one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to try to format out this second div cell a little bit, just so that it's a little easier to read, and then make sure I change the ID for every one of them while I do that. And if all comes out according to plan, the last one will be error 10. So that's 3. That's 4. That's 5. That's 6. That's 7. Incredibly boring, I know. And this is going to be 8. Card number is going to be 9. And security code is going to be 10. So basically I just kind of added 10 blank spans to the page, and it doesn't really actually do anything because there's nothing in them, so they don't actually show up. You can kind of see them if you were to kind of inspect the document and pop these open. You'd see that span there, but since there's nothing in it, it's not doing much. What we're going to do is we're going to use JavaScript to check these fields, and if certain conditions are met, we're going to kind of make something over here show up and kind of prevent this from happening. So we've kind of just did part 1 in the assignment. Part 2 is where most of the work is going to be, and it's basically, you know, kind of rework the calc total function a little bit, and there's some example code there, and basically we're going to be checking all the fields. It's kind of a lot to do in this one, which is why the first one there was so much to do. So one of the things I'm going to do first is, this is my JavaScript file. This is where we kind of got started last time. One of the things that I want to do before I kind of get started on stuff is I want to use a for loop down here to add an error class to each span, because they're kind of named by ID, and I could probably do some CSS to do it another way. But this is the way I kind of want to do it. It kind of shows a little bit of JavaScript too. So for I equals 1 to I less than or equal to 10, I plus plus. So this is what's called a for loop in JavaScript, and basically I'm using I to kind of go through the different, go through each iteration of the loop. We're going to start at 1, and as long as I is less than or equal to 10, we'll keep going. And for each time we go through the loop, we're going to add 1 to I. So I have a reason for this madness, and the reason is that I want to, each time we go through the loop, I want to kind of create that span tag in memory. So I'm going to do get element by ID, error, and add I. So what this statement is doing is it's kind of getting the different span errors, and it's actually kind of appending the I number to it. So that's why we started at 1, so that there's error 1, and we go to less than or equal to 10, so we end at ERR10. And for each one we get, we kind of want to assign a class name, and I'm going to call it error. And one thing I need to add into my CSS, I need to add a CSS class for error, and I just kind of want to make it bold and red. So it's not really going to show much when I do this. The only way to really see it right this second is to just kind of inspect element, and where we opened up where that span tag is, you can see that in the markup in the code inspector down here, the developers tool, you can see that each span actually has a class equals error on it now. It's kind of all written in JavaScript, and kind of, it just programmatically did that. So it doesn't really show much right now, but you can kind of see there's the error class. It's pulling from the CSS, and we're kind of like dynamically setting that. So it doesn't do much at the moment, but it'll show up here in a minute. So basically what our assignment is asking us to do is to, I'm going to add some comments here, pull in form fields, and assign output. I'm going to flip back to this document. So I kind of did that for my own benefit, but I'm going to kind of start looking at this var valid true and is not a number situation. And I kind of broke it up in half. This is kind of how you check one, but then you're going to have to make sure that that valid variable stays the same. So what I'm going to say is down here in between these two, you have a flag. When I always think about flags in programming, I always kind of come back to Eddie Izzard's stand-up when he's talking about flags in countries, and if you don't have a flag, then you don't have a country. So that's always my comment for flags usually. Do you have a flag? And I'm going to call a valid, make a variable called valid, and hold a true function in it. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say that if it's valid, then I want this code to execute. And I'm going to kind of just move this block of code inside of it. So then I'm kind of indent it a little bit so it looks right. So this will still execute. We haven't actually done anything yet, but so this should still work if I kill this. If I still hit the place order button, it should still work. We still get the message that even if things are blank, and if I kind of start adding stuff in there, then it'll still work. You can still get a number, and first and last name will still go. So anyway, we have a flag. we are setting it here so that if it's still true, then the magic happens. So what we're going to have to do now is we're going to have to make a check on a variable. So I'm going to just kind of copy this code for the moment and kind of just paste it in here. Probably should type it yourself, but I'm trying to make the video as fast as I can if I can. So kind of what I'm doing is I'm adding this statement here, and it's checking the quantity that's up here. We're setting the quantity variable by finding the quantity value on the page. And then this if statement, what it's doing is it's saying if this is not a number, that's what NaN stands for, not a number, or the two pipe characters here mean or, the quantity is less than 1, then that's an error, and that shouldn't, we should put a message there. I'm going to kind of take that out and just put error, so it kind of is easier to see. So, if the quantity is less than 1, then it fails. So if I'm looking at the quantity thing, I'm using a little number attribute here. It can go into the negatives and stay in the positives. So what's going to happen is if I go to -1, then this error message shows, because this is that span tag. This is the error2 span tag that we're finding in the element here, and we're writing that error message to it. You could put something like not a number and make it more noticeable to the user what was wrong with it, and in that way it probably will mess up my design a little bit. Error, not a number. So I'm just going to kind of keep it at error for now. You should always use descriptive error messages when you're writing your code. It really helps people know what they should do. For example, you could have an email, and there's not one on our forum, but if there was an email input and you did several different checks on an email input, you might want to say, this isn't a valid email, or is it blank, or it's missing an @ character, or it's missing some other function, part of the email attribute. So I kind of just did the first one for you. Now this list right here is actually a little bit short. When we did this last time, I didn't pull in all the values, just to kind of keep it easy and keep it simple and not really give you too much to do in one time. But you're going to have to kind of come through and add in the ones that we didn't include. One of the other things I did is I kind of took off this divided by 100 here and moved it down. Let's move our total. I've got a cheat sheet over here on the other side where I've already done this once. For our discounted amount, and it's multiplied by, that's a little better. Just in a different place. Really, what we should be doing is, because this statement wouldn't be correct unless we know all the numbers are truly numbers, so it actually would probably make more sense to kind of move that one statement down here. That way we know that by the time we get here and we know everything is valid, this quantity value is something that we actually expect it to be. Same with unit price and discounted amount. That probably needs to come back here as well. That is true, that's how I did it. Okay, so that's kind of getting you started a little bit. We've only done one. There's actually a lot of fields that need to be checked, and I'm not really sure you want to watch me do the whole video. It's probably already getting kind of long. I could probably do a few. So I'm going to pull my cheat sheet back up over here so it looks a little easier for me. So I'm pulling in product, a quantity, a unit price, and an order date is one of the things I did not get. So I'm going to make an order date. Value. And we got first and last name. We did not get payment type. remember that the get element by ID has to match the input fields. So if I kind of look back over here, the ID for the select here is called payment type, and order date was a little bit higher. This one, order date. And then I got payment type. I also need to get card number and security code. Add value. Oop. Okay, so we did quantity first. It's actually not the first value. It doesn't really matter what order you kind of put them in. The point is that at first you're saying the page is valid, and then you're checking a bunch of conditions that would make it not valid. And if one of those conditions is met, then you turn that, you set it to false, and then you know this will execute. So that's kind of the whole point. I'm going to do if product, for example, is in the drop-down list, and it's kind of hard to do that because it's in a drop-down list, but I'm going to make sure that the value is actually equal to something other than just a blank space. And if it is, I'm going to say that it's valid equals false. And I'll use the same document. Get elements by ID, except this time looking for error 1, and say that the HTML of that is also going to say error. So now we got two. This one's saying that the product basically can't be an empty string. This one's saying if it's not a number and the number is greater than 0, actually not less than 1, sorry. So this one's saying if quantity isn't less than 1, so it's got to be 1 or more. And this is the OR pipe character. And like I said, this is checking whether or not quantity is not a number. And if I'm kind of pull over my cheat sheet has most everything done, but I'm going to kind of make sure that's saved. Show it here. So now quantity is showing off its error. Like I said, product's not really going to show because I can't really say no product value. Well, I could. If I went back and looked at product, I'm thinking it differently. Sorry. Let's see. Let's do one that's actually not in the select drop down. So I'm going to look down at the card. Do the card number down at the bottom. That sounds like a good one. So the way I can kind of check the card number at the bottom is I can say if is not a number, because is not a number, card number, or, and kind of looking at the card number, I'm looking at the here, must be a 16-digit integer number. So I've already done one check, and so if it's not a number, then it's gonna show. But I also need to make sure that it's 16 characters long. That's what a credit card, well, everything except for American Express, but most cards have 16 numbers on them. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to look at the card number and pull the value of its length. The length is the number of characters in the variable, so it'll come back and show something. And I'm going to use this operator, which is not equal to. It's an exclamation point with 2 equal signs. And I'm going to say 16. And so if either one of those conditions is met, that's the or in the middle. If either one of those conditions are met, then I'm going to make sure that this thing is not valid. And I'm going to put the document.getElement.id. And this one is actually error 9. Okay, So kind of start this page over again and hit go. This time I have an error in the quantity and I have an error down here in card number. If oh, there's one more thing I need to do. So I'm going to explain why I have to do this. If I start the page with nothing, and I put 16 characters in, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, then it doesn't show its error, right? So, but what if I take one of these card numbers out? I'm taking out, well, just 1, 4. I should take out 1, 4. Take out 1, 4. The error shows, okay? So I'm going to put that 1, 4 back in and hit go. Well, why isn't it disappearing? Well, it's still turned on from the last time I hit the go button, and so I got to kind of figure out a way that I can kind of turn all these errors off. So it kind of worked the first time, it didn't work the last time. And it's kind of one of the reasons I started with this for loop down here at the bottom, because it's going to be kind of similar to what I need to do that with. And I'm going to kind of put it up here at the top, because calc total is essentially called when the button is clicked. So I'm going to put something up here at the top. It's doing the same thing, except instead of changing the class name, I'm going to change the inner HTML of that to nothing. And hit save. And let me turn off errors. It's not really turning them off. What it's doing is it's just taking the text out. It's kind of the same thing though, really, right? So this time, if I hit go, it doesn't, it shows up. I'm going to type out 16 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. It disappeared. And so I can kind of hit backspace again, it shows back up, put the 4 back, it comes off. So I kind of need that to do that thing. Essentially that's kind of what this assignment's doing, is it's kind of asking you to go through and put some error checking on each and every one of them. I'm going to pull my cheat sheet over where I've already done everything how I would do it. Oh, I guess we got to make sure that it still shows. Notice how that guy turned off. And likewise, I guess one thing I didn't mention is that, okay, so we go back to -1. This isn't getting updated, but I kind of want this to come off. So there's kind of another thing up here you kind of need to add. It does the same thing, is that it just kind of document element by ID. Anyway, sorry. That way. In retrospect, should have used security code. So in this way, that message will disappear every time I hit the button, because I'm kind of setting it to nothing at the very beginning. Anyway, that's kind of the basic part of this assignment. So I'm going to pull my cheat sheet over and just talk about different ways to do checks. You can kind of see I chose card number because it uses a length and kind of checks for the number of characters in that value. Security code is kind of doing the same thing. It's not equal to 3, so because security codes are 3 characters long. Payment type is similar to the product at the top. First and last name, I'm checking to make sure that the value isn't just an empty string. And order date is a little bit more difficult, but you can kind of see how it goes there. And I guess if you're just kind of hitting the pause button in the video, you probably can see and take this time to kind of write some of this out. As long as you're writing your own code, I'm kind of the whole point is you learning how to do this, so you need to be able to write your own code. I did check quantity here, but I also checked unit price, and there's kind of there's different ways to do it, I suppose. Quantity is always going to be 1 or more, and unit price is kind of going to be over 0, but it could be 0, I'm not really sure. Probably would make more sense just to say if the unit price is greater than, less than 0. Well, I guess you don't want a free thing. So that makes sense in a sense that if the unit price is less than or equal to 0, can't give out free merchandise. Oh, so yeah, I guess the discount rate is going to be less than or equal to 0. I think the way I wrote that in the write-up is that discount rate must be greater than 0. Well, I mean, I guess you should account for a 0 discount rate. Not everybody should get a discount, right? So essentially, that's kind of what I'm looking for in the second assignment. I'm looking for some error checks. I'm looking to make sure that things, that the display message, the output, doesn't show unless everything is validated, and that's kind of the whole point of the second assignment. So hope this video was helpful, and looking forward to assignment 3. All right, have a good one. Goodbye.